Say yes to life. Be a yes person. Say yes and open the doors of life-changing opportunities. Does that sound familiar? Are you one of those people that likes to say yes all the time? Or maybe doesn't like to say yes but ends up saying yes anyway when you actually wanted to say no? Well, today I'm not going to be talking about yes. I'm going to be talking about how to say no when you want to say no, and the power of saying no, and how the future of your business and potentially life depends on it. But before we do that, please hit the like button and that subscribe thingy and the notification bell so that, hang on a minute, don't say no to that one. That's not the point of this video. Say yes to those and then say no to other things. Okay? Let's get on with the video. Hit it. So how many times have you been in this situation where somebody comes to you and says, can you please do this for me? And you really just don't want to, or it's actually a request by a client who says, can you cut your prices down? Or it's someone who's asking you to do even more work when you're completely overloaded and overwhelmed. And the first thing that you want to say in your mind is, no, really, just no, leave me alone. And you say, okay, I'm going to say no, I'm going to say no, I'm going to say no.
No, 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 no.
Yes? Damn it, why did that thing come out of my mouth? Why did you say yes, Tama? Why? How many times have I told you just say no when you want to say no because it's good for you? I've had this situation many, many times, and I've learned the hard way. Really, I've learned the hard way that you have to say no. You sometimes have to say no to other people, whether it's people in your team, in your business, or it's people as clients. You really sometimes need to say no to clients. And actually by saying no, you're giving them a better quality of service. There are so many opportunities and so many times that you need to say
No.
By saying
No, 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 no.
it actually makes things a lot better for you. So here's another thing. You might have actually noticed that last week there wasn't a full deep dive video as I've usually been doing in every single week. There was a small video that we released which was called The Minutes. Watch it up here. It's actually quite good. It talks about my story and it compresses down an entire playlist in 3 minutes. And we're going to be doing that as a series moving forward. But that didn't come by plan. That came actually by chance, and I'll tell you why. I had to make the difficult decision to actually say no to doing a deep dive video last week. And I have maintained that I'm going to be consistent, I'm going to upload my videos, I'm going to do all of these things. And then I ended up being in a position that I have told other people not to be in, which is being overwhelmed with a lot of the work that you've got on top of you. And I needed to take a step back and I needed to say, hang on, Tama, you need to say no to something. Some things need to drop. Otherwise, I would have been completely overwhelmed. And we sit here day in, day out. You're going to watch my videos and I'm going to say, learn how to be the CEO of your business. You need to delegate to people. You need to be like calm, cool, collected. Don't get overwhelmed. Live a life that you want to live, and so on and so forth. But that doesn't mean that we're all perfect. We have a system. We have a framework. We try and stick to it, but we all end up getting lost somewhere down the line. And that happened to me last week, and I had to actually come back and say, no, you can't do this. And I had to turn around to several people in my team and say, I've made the decision, I'm not going to do the video, what can we do? And we came up with a really innovative way of being able to still maintain uploading a video once a week, but doing something a little bit different, which now we can see the potential of being able to upload more than one video a week using similar material that we've got, but disseminated in a different way so that people can digest them either as bite-sized information as part of the minutes or as deep dive if they really want to go in there and doing it. And that came by the power of saying no. Now, this is just one example here. There are many, many examples in life and in business that you need to be able to start saying no to people. For example, if you've got a client that comes there and says to you, please, can you do this amount of work for this amount of money? Can you please do it for me? And you don't want to lose that client, or you don't want to lose a client, and you sit there and you operate from fear. That spells the beginning of a spiral down a very deep rabbit hole. And what we want to be able to do is to be able to maintain control at all times. It's your business. It's your life. You need to keep control. Yes, we need to be able to give and be kind and do all of these things, and this is where it all stems from. So, did you know that our lack of ability to say no is actually not a natural response? It's actually a learned behavior. We grow up as toddlers inside a family environment where we are told off when we say no to our family and our parents. We are told off, we are reprimanded, we are encouraged to be agreeable, and we are encouraged to say yes. And as we grow into schools and the society as a whole, we are told to say yes, be agreeable, and we perceive these as things that are agreeable, generous, kind, compassionate. All of these good things, they are good people, and the people that say no are perceived as rude and rebellious and all of those bad other things. And we don't want that. And I'm not telling you for 1 second to be rude and rebellious and bad and all of that stuff. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying here that your ability to say no will actually make you a much kinder, compassionate, better person, because you will be able to serve the people who you say and choose to say yes to at a much higher capacity and in a much better way and in a much improved quality. And it will in turn make your quality of life, your health, your happiness infinitely better. So it's a win-win. And unfortunately, sometimes we're going to have the difficult discussion to say no to people.
How about no?
But we need to know that every time we say yes to one person, we are actually saying no to a whole bunch of other people, because your capacity is only this much. And every time you say yes, you're filling up that capacity. And when your capacity is full, you are saying no to a whole bunch of other opportunities, a whole bunch of other people. And somebody said it, and I can't remember quite who. I'll link it down below. You should perceive no as next opportunity. And I really like that, because it is exactly that. You are saying no because you are moving on to the next opportunity. And I don't mean this in an opportunistic manner. I mean this in a way which will serve you and serve others better. So every time that you're going to say yes, yet you want to say no to someone, take a pause, take a step back, and say, hang on a minute, what am I doing here? If I say yes to this person, and this person can be your boss, you can be the boss, you can be a business owner, you can be saying it to a loved one, you can be saying it to a team member, you can be saying it to a client, and vice versa. Doesn't matter who you are at this stage, and it doesn't matter who you're saying it to. It works every single direction. Every single direction. There needs to be the respect that when we say no to people, we are actually being kind to those people, because we are being respectful that we are not going to waste their time, and we are being respectful to ourselves, that we respect our own time, and we respect that when we say yes to something, we're going to do it at its maximum, in its fullest. And if we say yes to a whole bunch of other things, our resources and our capacity and our efforts and our concentration and our focus gets completely diluted, and we're not able to focus and actually do one thing or just a few things right. We end up doing a whole bunch of things, meh. And that's not what we want. So let's figure out how we start having these difficult conversations with people when we actually want to say no. Have you heard of the phrase, will it make the boat go faster? It was one of Ben Hunt Davis's mottos, and he was on the British rowing team and went on to win the gold medal at the Sydney Olympics in the year 2000. And he was absolutely hell-bent on making decisions that only were made if it made the boat go faster. And that's how I would like you to start thinking, not about boats, but about what it is that you are actually aiming to achieve, or what your vision is in your business or in your life. Think strategically. If you've got a vision for your business, and you should if you don't, but if you've got a vision for your business, and when you have a vision for your business, every decision that you make inside your business needs to edge you one step closer there. And how I start thinking about things, and it's something that I've picked up over the years, is to start thinking about things from a strategic perspective and almost have like a flow chart, like a mind map that goes in my head every time someone asks me a question. And I go down this instant flow chart, and it takes a little bit of time to practice. And what you do is you start saying, right, if I do this, will it do that? And if not, shall I do this? And do I do this? And do I do that? And you go down this flow chart until you come up with all of the possible permutations and make sure that the decision you're making edges you closer to your ultimate vision. So how do we do that? Well, let's say a client comes and asks you a question and says, can you do this for me? What you would want to be doing is, in the back of your mind, you've already previously prepared a couple of points that you ask yourself on the fly every time someone asks you a set of questions. These can be, for example, will making this thing that they've asked me to do, will doing this thing get me and my team closer to my vision? B, will it get me closer to achieving my goals, whether in the short term, medium term, or long term? C, will it take me away from what I'm doing right now that is actually more important? And these questions are approximate, and everyone will have their own set of questions, but have these questions in the back of your mind so that you can ask yourself and train yourself to ask yourself on the fly. Now, you've thought about these questions and you have got potentially, like we said, 3 options. If you've come up with a decision straight away to say yes, go ahead and say yes. If you've come up with a decision to say no, go ahead and say no. And we'll talk about how to say no in a second. But if you still are unsure, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you saying, please give me some time to think about this and consider this, because this sets some boundaries, and also it lets them know that you have the power of choice, and actually saying yes is not a given all the time. If your gut is still saying no to you once you've considered it, say no. Don't be afraid to say no. You don't need to be hostile about it, but you should not ever feel uncomfortable saying no. And there have been times where I, in the past, have said yes to somebody that I have wanted to say no to, whether it was a client or differently, and I have ended up regretting it every single time, nearly every single time, but nearly every single time I've ended up regretting it. That client has ended up making problems and being a pain and asking for too much and going on, and there are times where if your gut is just saying no and it's not heading you towards the vision, the goals, where you want to head towards, then do not be afraid to say no. So now comes the next set of couple of options that you have in your head. Am I going to say no and offer a counter offer? Or am I going to say no and offer a consolation? Or am I just going to say no and I don't want to sort of deal with this anymore? And all of these are viable options again. And once you say, right, I'm going to offer a counter offer and just say no, then it's fine. You can say, hey, thank you very much for thinking about me. Thank you for asking me to do this. I'm afraid, as it stands, I can't do it in this manner. And you can give a reason or not. Again, up to you. You can decide whether or not you need to justify or whether you feel it's unnecessary to justify. Sometimes not justifying is actually a better way of doing things. You can come back and you can say, I'm sorry, I've thought about it. As it stands, I'm unable to do it in this manner. However, in thinking about it, I've come up with a different way that may work. How about this? And that's one way of doing it if you want to counter offer. If you want to offer a consolation, you can say, hey, thank you very much for thinking about me. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. But as it stands, I'm unable to do this right now. And then if you want to justify, you can say, my plate is full, so on and so forth. Sometimes by justifying, like I mentioned earlier, is not the best way of doing things because it opens up a window for counter arguing, if you will. So people will say, hey, but you can do this and you can do that. So I tend to not always justify, but some people think it's okay to justify. And if that is going to make your life a little bit easier, then by all means, go ahead and do that. Finally, if you really, really still want to say absolutely no, and I don't want to offer you a consolation and you are a pain, please don't say that to them. but you just are saying, I just do not want anything to do with this. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of everything. It's not going to serve me right. It's not going to serve you right. You're asking me to do it for too little money, or so on and so forth. There are lots of ways and options where you just want to say no and you don't want to give a reason. Then do not be afraid to do that. Just say, I'm sorry, thank you very much. I appreciate you asking me. I appreciate you thinking about me. As it stands now, this is something that I'm unable to do. I hope we can work in the future together in some other capacity. And leave it at that. You can say it by email, you can say it in person. Don't be afraid. People will still respect you because you are respecting your own time. If somebody doesn't respect that, then they are not worth your time. And I'm sure that the people that will respect you, they will move on and they will come back when the time is right. So ultimately, saying no is not a bad thing, and I don't want you to feel bad about doing that. After all, how can you be doing your best work when you're doing something you don't want to be doing? It doesn't make sense, because what you need to be doing is working on the stuff that you really want to be doing and saying yes to because you want to be doing it, and that's when you're going to produce your absolute best. So taking on stuff that you don't want to do is just a recipe for disaster. And I have worked with so many business owners and so many clients where it's not their morning routine that they're complaining about, it's not the fact that they're failing, it's not the fact that they're not smart enough, it's none of these things. It's the fact that they're working on stuff they don't want to be doing, and they are miserable and stressed and overwhelmed and overworked and really just flat out tired because of all of this nonsense, of all of the stuff that they're doing that they should have said no to and ended up saying yes. And I don't want you to be in that position. So whether it's a client who's asking you to do more work for you, or whether it's a client who's asking you to cut your prices and it's not what you're worth, please make sure that every time you are saying yes to somebody, you are saying yes to somebody because you want to, and it is what is right for you strategically. And that's what's really important, and that's what's really going to make a huge difference to your business and to your life. I'll see you next time. You know, ever since I've started this YouTube channel, I have just been asked one question over and over and over and over again, every single time. And that question is this background behind me here a virtual background, i.e., is it fake? And every single time, my answer is